What's up, everybody? Welcome to TeslaFix. Today we have an interesting topic again, like I always introduce, because of course the 1010 event is right around the corner and there is a person that was invited to the big We Robot event. I want to focus in this episode on the AI capabilities behind the Robotaxi and a little bit about what we could expect from the Tesla bot in that sense as well, because it says We Robot. It's about the Robotaxi, but is it also about the Tesla bot? Let's ask a specialist about this.
Welcome to TeslaFix. Make sure to subscribe and like this episode.
Scott Walter is here again, a channel favorite and the robotics expert in the Tesla community that always has to be called whenever something is about, autonomy or vision AI and stuff like this. So, Scott, thank you very much for being here. And let's see what's happening at the We Robot event.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a surprise. I somehow got picked in the first round, just a shareholder lottery. And that was on the 25th. And since then, I've heard like more and more names that are going there that are kind of known to the community that got in. I know Jeff Lutz, I think, was in the first round. Sat was in the first round. Dirty Tesla, I think, got selected. And then also Dr. Know-It-All, John Gibbs is in.
Yeah.
Herbert Ong also got an invite.
Kristen
James Dama
recently
will be there. Kristen,
Yeah.
okay, so Kristen actually got it. I know James Dama will be there. And so, it's out in Burbank, and it's this Thursday, the 1010 event.
Yeah.
And it was a rather interesting title. When I got the email, I wasn't expecting to see We Robot on there.
Yeah.
And for those who are not aware, there was like a series of science fiction stories written by Isaac Asimov, who basically popularized the whole idea of humanoid bots. And that was called I, Robot. And there was a movie with Will Smith about that as well, which is actually, even though it was made in 2005, it's very funny because the jokes land better now than they did back then.
That's true. That's true.
It really does. It's amazing how futuristic the jokes were. They age extremely well. And so that was about humanoids. So when you see We Robot, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, I thought this was Robotaxi. And is it hinting at something a bit more? And I'm going back and forth. A lot of people assume Optimus is going to be there. I'm not 100% sure, because what Optimus are going to show, they're not going to show Gen 3 because it's not ready yet. So they just be showing the Gen 2. And that would be the first time the Gen 2 is actually shown in a public setting. There has been a Gen 2 Opticam that I think was shipped over to China for an event there, but basically it was just 3D printed model. It wasn't the real deal. So it could be there. The thing is does that sort of take away the spotlight from what's supposed to be about Robotaxi? The whole thing was like a Robotaxi event, and now suddenly Optimus is there. And is that the one more thing? What is it? Or are they hinting at other things? Are we going to see Optimus, or are we just going to see a roadmap for other robotic embodiments or AI embodiments? So Ashok hinted, I think back in the spring, maybe into early summer, something about the idea of being able to put this into robot animals.
Mm-hmm.
And, what could that be? Maybe, quadruped, because the little robot dogs seem to be a pretty popular form factor for a lot. So that, that maybe that they're thinking of that. So are they going to unveil one of those working prototype? Don't know. Or a roadmap, or showing a bunch of these things with the drape over it, and you kind of look at it, it's like, yeah, it looks like a dog, that looks like a donkey, or I don't know,
Yeah, a robot donkey would be funny, yeah.
Yeah, so you never know what's going to be there, but it's at this point, I'm going to say no, they're not, and would love to be proven wrong. So
I also think that in which direction it could go more is maybe your opinion on that is also for the audience very interesting here, that it's about the brains actually, and also the interface with the Robotaxi. For example, when I have this scenario in mind, you don't own a car anymore, you are maybe in Europe, let's just say Europe because of public transport, because we have good ones, especially in Switzerland, for example. You drive by train, then you call a Robotaxi in the train already, then it arrives because you need to do some errands, for example, go grocery shopping or something like that. And then it comes there. automatically detects where you are located around the car, because we've seen that in the Model 3 Highland.
Mhm.
And then suddenly the trunk or the storage compartment opens up, however it will look.
What it will be
And then
called, yeah.
yeah. And then and what it will be called exactly. And then you put your luggage there and walk over to the door, and it opens also automatically,
Mhm.
maybe sliding doors or
Mhm.
scissor doors, whatever, we don't know. But then Grok greets you actually and
Mhm.
asks you where you want to go, and then you just say where you want to go, and it will drive. So something like that is in my head, kind of, that
Right.
the AI,
And
the Grok integration is something, and also with the Tesla bot, that's my thinking, that they will unveil maybe the interface of communicating with the bots,
right.
kind of, as a nugget, kind of.
And,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it would take all that friction out, because everyone knows that when you travel, the last mile is always a problem. So
Yes,
I've had
exactly.
times where I've paid more to get from the airport to my destination than the flight itself. And that would be like a
Oh,
transatlantic flight, because it's just kind of the ridiculous connections, or the amount of
that's
time
true.
that you spend, going from door to airport and everything else almost adds up the same as the whole flight. And a lot of it is because of the friction that's in there, of having to drop your car off at a parking lot and take a shuttle and do this, that, and everything else. So having something just greet you there, know when your train is arriving or your plane or something like that, and literally just walk in. And again, the convenience of things opening up so that stuff just slides in. And that kind of gets to a point, is that there's a bunch of things are going to be unveiling. I don't know what we're going to see with Optimus, but we're supposed to see something about Robotaxi. And there's everyone's excited about the cyber cab, but remember, Robotaxi is a generic term for all the form factors, and the cyber cab is just one
Yes.
particular one. So I expect to see that there's going to be a lot of robotaxis there, meaning 3s and Ys and X's and S's, that'll be running around, because you want to make sure it's a busy cityscape. The
Yes.
idea of an empty cityscape that the robotaxi is not going to impress anyone. It's like, so what? It's like it's got to be busy. It has to deal with traffic. The question is whether the traffic is going to be 100% autonomous, or whether they're going to throw in a couple of human drivers just for the fun of it. But I think we'd all like to see what a fully autonomous environment looks like without anything. And then we don't know how many cyber cabs they could have already. It's the original Cybertruck unveiling, there was one Cybertruck and everyone wanted to take a ride in it. And so is there going to be, I think there has to be at least a minimum of 5. I'm hoping more, so everyone gets to get a real feel for it. But the other thing is that there's a difference between designing cars for ownership and designing cars for transportation, especially autonomous transportation. So the clean slate means like everything changes. And I've talked about this before, but if you think about it, the layout of the dash, partly that's constrained because the fact that you need to have the steering wheels and the pedals and stuff like that. So you take that away, and it's going to be a different look. You have a center console, you have a glove box, you have all these things. Those are all there for owners. It's an ownership thing. It's not a passenger thing. It's like, it's where I store my valuables. It's where I make sure my stuff is always there. So the next time I get in the car, it's there. Well, that's not the way it's going to be. So it'll be designed differently to make it easy. There'll probably be pockets and cup holders and little shelves, stuff like that, to make it very easy for you to be able to put the stuff that you bring in there, but nothing that needs to be locked away. The other thing is I'm expecting is it's going to be designed in a way that'll be very easy to clean. Get rid of all the things that just make it difficult, that collect dirt and dust and stuff like that. So you want serviceability really good. The question of the seats, how much they go back, are they going to redesign the restraints? And then the other thing kind of comes down to is like, do you think there's going to be a frunk?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we expect there to always be a frunk, but I'm almost thinking that it's going to be very cab forward. Is the front going to be kind of superfluous and necessary? Again, it's more of an ownership thing. It's where I tend to
True.
store a lot of those items that I really want to always make sure I'm there. My charging cables and stuff like that. And
It depends a little bit on the passenger safety, I would say. Like, they
yes,
need a
so
cushion
they
in
need a
front,
cushion.
but
They need a cushion,
still,
do you still need the front, and is there going to be any benefit to it? And then the whole thing is like, you just design it to make sure you have adequate luggage space in the back for what that's going to be. So that's one thing. The other thing I pointed out is that what's it like getting into your car? Do you find it an easy exercise? Do you find it sometimes strenuous?
yeah, I find it sometimes not so good because, okay, wait, I'm going to share that soon, but yeah, when you sit down and you kind of, in the Model 3,
Yeah,
I have to go butt first and
yeah,
then like this. And
yeah,
up.
exactly.
I'm
And
the
it's
tall
because
guy, so yeah.
you're tall, and so
Mhm.
again, is you get the A pillar that kind of comes up and wraps over like that, and for both you and me, we have to crouch down.
Yeah.
And when you have a back injury, like I've had, you really notice it. And then what I do is
Yeah.
I basically go in head first now. Is like, rather
Uh-huh.
than put
Yeah.
my foot in, is like I literally dive in, get my butt in the seat, and then pull everything up
Ah,
that
yeah.
way
Hmm.
because it's the most comfortable. But I'm sure there's people that are not at my height that also will say it's hard to get into cars in general, especially exotic cars. You
Yeah.
roll out of the
Yeah.
seat to be able to get up. So part of it is, how do you design around that? And a lot of it's the enclosure is that, coming up with a door that opens up in such a way that it's not a problem, that you can easily get in and get down. And of course, making sure it's all right, that, your fingers don't get caught accidentally when it closes, and all the safety issues when having it. Making sure rain doesn't get in, that's why people like gold wings.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that would be kind of nice, that it would automatically open. And of course, the seat's just going to be reclined way back. That's just going to make it easier. And so I would imagine there'd be some sort of handles or something like that you would have in a door, if you
Hmm.
have that kind of door, to make it very easy for you to then grab that to be able to get yourself in.
I
So
find it also
yeah.
interesting. Sorry that I interrupt, but like
Mhm.
here, this that it's slanted more on top, that kind of it opens up more here for the head, that you
Mhm.
can kind of
Yeah,
like
exactly.
go straight. That's what I mean. But I mean, this is just a render based on the photos we saw in the Isaacson
Mhm.
book, and I think it was even before the leaked small photo that they
Right,
shown
right,
with
right.
with the front of the cyber cab or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And the
Mhm.
other thing is what's the display going to be like? Are they going to go with that simple display, what you have there, or is it somehow going to be more integrated so that you don't have uh, the difficulty for cleaning or things get
Mhm.
bumped on or snagged on
True.
or something like that? If you have everything kind of set in place, then it'll be very nice. So again, everything changes when you don't have to have a steering wheel, when you don't have to have ownership, and that's kind of the out of the box thinking that you need to have going into it. And what I want to be looking for when I get into it is like, okay, what have they done to really make the experience of getting in a car now? Because even a taxi cab, I mean, they're designed to be driven.
Yeah,
So they have that same
absolutely.
kind of thing, the difficulty getting in the back, the seat restraints that are hard to put in, and all. It's like, have they looked at every single item and said, there's a different way of doing this?
Yeah.
Because we're constrained by the old ways. And if we remove those constraints, what we can do different. Now, there's some things that they're not going to change. It's like we're pretty sure it's four wheels and it has tires.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what it's going to be. And of course, it has to have the standard exterior lighting for safety purposes and stuff like that. But what happens on the inside could be very different. And I agree with you. It's like there's no reason why the Sentry mode would not be able to see what your actions are and open up whatever needs to be opened up at that time, or with a simple voice command as well. So
No,
you
no,
shouldn't have to.
no. My
Yeah,
theory is with the Bluetooth integration, because you of course have a
yeah, yeah,
Tesla app to
yeah, yeah,
summon, and then it's the
yeah.
same thing like the Tesla
And
app
it could
that you
just
could
be a
just.
gesture. It's just like it either it looks at you and is able to read your body language. It says he wants the door open, or there may be some sort of other action that you say is like, go like this, and it goes, oh, okay, I'll open up the door.
Or it beeps
But
3 times, like we have already in the Model 3, like
yeah,
or in the rollout, the
it'll
new
do
one
something.
that
But
is.
the thing
Mhm. Yeah.
is it deciding to do it as opposed to you having to hit a sensor or something like that, or every
Sure.
time I open the front, I have to take out my phone and then type in a bunch of code, get through my screen to go in, and that's inconvenient, especially if I'm carrying something. So yeah, I want something that it just automatically does that without having to dig into the phone.
Hmm. True. Yeah. And what I also found interesting, because you've said it before, the serviceability and the cleaning also is one
Hmm.
thing, and the newer seats are also interesting because here you have the seat that is different, so the lines of the seat is actually straight,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's
Yeah,
why you could clean it more easily, because if it has a standard seat design, kind of, that is like a bucket that holds you, kind of, you know what I mean,
yeah,
like this.
the bucket seats. Yep.
Yeah, the bucket seats, and yeah, this is way different. It's more like a couch or something like that. But
Yeah,
this could,
could
of
be.
course,
Mhm.
always be a prototype and not feasible for the real solution,
And
obviously.
it could
But
also be that the seats are very easy maybe to slide out either for
yeah.
cleaning or to easily replace. So it's like, oh, this seat's a disaster. Let's just slide it
Hmm.
out and pop the next one in, and then we can go ahead and clean it and send the cab off. Or if you need to hose it down, you slide the seats out, do whatever, and make sure your surfaces are all set up. What kind of carpeting and interior appointments that they're going to have to make cleaning very very easy.
Absolutely. And Herbert also mentioned something that I found very interesting. It was that since we have the on-box process, which means we have different parts now, the front part, the back part, that's comes just together with the middle part where the structural battery pack mostly is. So they can expand the size of the wheelbase. They could make it smaller or bigger, possible. And even why do you actually need, like the Cybercab could be one form factor, and we said we already have seen this here, and for me this is interesting because this could well be that the front and the back is actually the same, that you take the two parts, the steering part, and it could even maneuver with, like, of course, with steer-by-wire and the rear axle steering that we have on the Cybertruck, it could also maneuver differently.
Right.
Something like that, because you just use the front part 2 times, so for the front and the back, in the box process.
Which means, it easily turns itself around, so it doesn't have to back out. It's just like, oh, now the rear is the front, and you just,
or you could just go the other way because it's the same. This could be interesting for the skateboard, like the skateboard kind of design.
Right. And it's almost like thinking of the stretch limos you see in the US. All they're doing is they're slicing the car in half and they're
exactly
in the middle. It could be set up like that, almost like Lego. It's like, oh, you want a 4-seater version? Yeah, we can do that. And just pop it in. I mean, I'm not sure how far you can go because, you don't have a wheelbase that's too crazy, but it's possible they will have a couple of different variants of it, like you say, based on almost the same modules that are there to be able to expand it out. I would not be surprised to see something like that. But I think the real event is going to be more about the hardware than the software, because we've seen FSD, we know where it is, and unless they have some version of FSD that's already version 13 and already really wild that's going to be there, we're probably not going to see incredible progress from what isn't already known. So it's like we know where it is. We know where the where AS is as far as the auto summon, that feature. I think the Cybertruck now has the stack the highway stack has been replaced, but we're not going to be taking on the freeway, so we're not going to know what it's like there. We're just going to know what it's like around that cityscape, and that's going to be hard to fully evaluate, because it's essentially geofenced. I'm assuming there's like 0 edge cases, and the only edge cases is just going to be the fact that there's going to be a lot of pedestrians and people lost walking around that might accidentally kind of step out in front and see how that goes. But otherwise, I expect it's going to be very flawless, and we won't really be able to say what it's like unless it's like doing phantom braking and other things. If the ride isn't very smooth, that will be pointed out. So it'll be interesting to see what James Dama's impression is when he looks at it. And again, it's like we're able to stress test FSD because of all the different drives and everything else that we go through. I'm not sure we'll be able to stress test it on Thursday. So there'll be a little bit of an unveil. The main software component is going to be the phone. And I've already decided I will be excluded on the app because they're rolling it out for iOS and not for Android. Because they did an update like last week. And my suspicion is that update is the actual Robotaxi. It's in there and they will activate
it. It opens up kind of. That's such a nice idea.
They will activate it, and somehow they will activate it for people within a certain geofenced area. So everything will arrive. They already will have the app. They just don't know it. And now suddenly it's live.
Jesus, that would be magic.
Now you can use it to go ahead and hail a Robotaxi. And again, it won't just be the Cybercab. It'll be Model 3s and Ys and S's and X's, and maybe even a Cybertruck will come around, and everyone will just be using the app, just going around Warner Brothers studio from place to place and seeing how much havoc gets caused with everyone kind of doing it. But my feeling is like, you got to buddy up with someone who's got an iPhone. Otherwise you're kind of left out.
Wow.
So that's my one prediction.
Okay. If you're standing there, guys, what's happening on your phone?
No,
please show me. Oh no.
Well, you can use my phone to film you're using your app,
Okay.
Do that.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I agree. I think this could be. I mean, this is technological possible. You could do something like that. You can, enable a function that is.
And they've already shown the app. Was about 3 months ago. Didn't they show exactly what it was? So they definitely have a version of it, and it would make sense that it's just kind of sitting there.
Absolutely, I'm gonna get up a picture because I think it's important, of course, to show that. Over here, it's a small one, but at least, you can see kind of summoning that you can press it.
We can say what music we want to have on when we get in, what we want the temperature setting to be. So that'll be interesting. Everyone will be there. We're hoping to live stream. John Herbert and myself will be inside. I think there's going to be a live stream with Bradford and CERN and Brian White and maybe others.
I want to join there immediately because then I don't have to do my own live stream.
You don't have to do your own.
I'll just come there and join.
So you'll be able to make kind of all the commentary, and then every now and then, hail one of us that's there and say what's going on. And then, again, I'll probably be the one that's streaming everything because I'm sure I won't have the app and say, oh, here's Herbert. He's going ahead and get it, he said at Beethoven's Ninth when it arrives, and sure enough, it's playing that.
Yeah, hopefully you don't get escorted out of the event then. Oh, this guy is spying here. He's doing live streams.
That's what we don't know is that is whether we can bring anything more than our phones in. Whether we can bring in like real video equipment, stuff like that, which would be kind of nice. But they're probably like no backpacks, I'm sure. We'll find out.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. Yeah, Scott, I'm very excited for this event, and you will be the man of the hour there, the one that doesn't have the whole functionality of the app, maybe, and then you're able to live stream everybody, maybe with bad sound quality, because of course you cannot bring everything with you. But let's see. I mean, it will be.
We'll see. I think a few people might have some. I know John has a remote mic or something like that, so maybe a few things like that will work.
Yeah, absolutely. It will work. Or we can have you at least like after, in between or after the event or whatever, somewhere a gap.
There's gonna be a lot. There's definitely going to be the pre, the live stream, and the post. So it's going to be a long night for you and everyone else. We're not quite sure where we're going to congregate because no one's really familiar around the area. And you look at it and it's like, it doesn't seem to be like a really good restaurant right around the gate. So it's a little bit further away. So we'll find out eventually and then make it in. No one's actually received the tickets yet. They've been invited.
You've just made a huge point. What about the McDonald's hint that they had? Maybe they're gonna get McDonald's for everybody, which would be strange, but maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a remote location, and then suddenly Robotaxis come there.
I'm trying to think if there was a McDonald's nearby the gate or not. I don't remember seeing it. It was like right in front of the gate is a doghouse,
Okay.
So it's like that's the only thing that's like right there, and then down the street, I have to look at it a little bit closer. There's got to be. I mean, it's like you can't go more than like a mile in the U.S. without there being a McDonald's.
Absolutely, even more than gas stations. Yeah,
yeah. Especially when you get all this movie studios around there, and people got to eat, right? And so you'd want to.
I think they have a collaboration of some sorts that they deliver with Robotaxis. Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Nobody knows this. At first, they thought there was some tie-up, and maybe it's something to do with the semi. And it could be that McDonald's is just capitalizing on it.
It could also be. Also, we talk now about McDonald's again. That's good for them too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They force us to do it. So that's what the social media tricks are. So there you go.
Viral marketing. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Okay, Scott. Thank you very much for giving us a small insight here. I know you're time constrained, and I hope that the event will be successful for all of you, and that you, I'm sure 100%, I'm very glad that you got an invitation. And next year, please, Tesla, get Brian White finally something.
Finally,
it's so sad to see.
Please.
Oh, Jesus Christ, he really works a lot for his channel, and hopefully he will get his invite soon or someday. Yeah. So, thank you very much, Scott, for doing this. And of course, follow Scott on social media, on X especially. He is very active there. And the channel favorite when it comes to robotics and AI. So I'm glad you're here. So thank you very much, Scott.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Goodbye, everybody.
Wasn't this episode awesome? Let's accelerate the pace of innovation by subscribing to TeslaFix. It is my absolute favorite channel on the whole interwebs.